Merry Christmas, everyone. Another year in which we celebrate Christmas, and another time in which apparently there's some making fixes on the apartment. So you hear kind of like these, kind of like bang, booms, noises, like that one, is because they're making some last minute repairs. And since I wanted to do this video a little bit like a last minute, well, it can't be helped. But anyway, here we are in my usual Christmas memories about when I watch television, a video game, or well, very few video game. Whatever the media has when it has to about Christmas. But because of certain distractions, this Christmas I had kind of like barely gave myself time to find and pick my Christmas cherries on holiday specials. So instead of going for the usual 12 like I did over the last couple of years, I decided to cut the losses and go for 6 this time. Not just because of my distractions. I was actually pondering if I have to shorten these holiday specials, and the biggest reason, and there's kind of like a few reasons. First of all, of course, like I said, I get very distracted, but two, these scenes are getting a little bit too long considering the way I talk, the way I express, the way I make my own internal vlog essays. So yeah, it was getting a little bit out of hand and too long. But also there was also this reason in which, unlike Halloween specials in which we have a good abundance of horror movies that I enjoy, Christmas is a little bit more complicated to look for. Because when I make a list, I usually want to not become monotone on which one I pick. I always try to pick a kind of like a theme or a category. Like for example, once a year I want to talk about one Rankin movie, one Christmas Carol movie, one animated TV special, one horror, one bad movie, one so bad that is enjoyable movie, or one what the frick kind of movie. Yeah, you get the idea. And honestly, the Christmas ones are much more complicated and harder to find, especially if I want to go with obscure ones or probably ones that are international. And because of that, it gets harder and harder and harder to make at least 12 of them each year. And the more you pick, especially the more obvious and the most popular, the list gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Because I mean, Christmas movies are a little bit. I know there's lots, although there's some that they're basically kind of like the same thing over and over, but you get the idea. It gets harder and harder. So I was pondering if I had to reduce it to at least six or five. But so I think this kind of gave me that opportunity. But you know what? Still here we are. It's the Christmas season. I got a little bit easy on my picks. So, but either way, you know what? Still, Christmas special is pretty much a tradition of our lives when you want to enjoy the holiday or just want to give yourself a good time. So let's not waste any time, and let's see my first pick of this new approach of my Christmas memories.
Well, you coming?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course. This is the Polar Express! All aboard!
And the first holiday movie that I pick is going back to the uncanny valley world of Robert Zemeckis. Oh man. Okay, the Polar Express. Let me tell you, I don't dislike the movie, by the way. It's just that I have this kind of respect, but at the same time disdain to the Polar Express, but not kind of like in the most Grinchy reasons that there is. First of all, you can tell that it's a pretty nice story. It's based on a book that I haven't read, but I saw some of the imageries and it looks kind of like beautiful, at least on the storybook, which basically is the simple premise of this boy who came to his age in which he starts doubting in the existence of Santa Claus, until a magical train comes out of nowhere, and he gets invited to go to this train which is filled with other kids in their pajamas, and this train goes to none other than to the North Pole, where they're gonna get their chance to see Santa Claus. And basically this is a journey about this kid trying to keep up his faith on believing on something magical, and which is of course Santa Claus. And for a storybook that I am pretty sure that is short and everything, it is pretty nice. Also, it gives a little bit of those feelings that we come up into an age that we start to put our feet on the ground and find out that there is no Santa Claus, but it still doesn't do that in a harsh way, but it also has this beautiful message, I would say, about keeping the faith on anything. Of course, that is Santa Claus, and to make the world feel a little bit more magical, innocent, and childlike into our perspective of life. I like the message. But I have some issues with the Robert Zemeckis movie. I mean, no doubt that you're gonna that it nailed on the setting, how the world looks, the snow looks, the Christmas decorations do that. I mean, you can tell that they did a good job on a little bit the aesthetics of the movie. How could I not doubt that? I have kind of a little bit of a soft spot for the other Christmas movie that he made, which is none other than the Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. Even though this movie with unfortunately, I'm gonna say that the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol movie to this point it's not aging well, but there's already talk about this. In the case of the Polar Express, it kind of having the same effect, but not kind of like as drastic as the other one. What are some of the things that I kind of noticed since I revisited this movie? First of all, I did praise how the setting looked. I wouldn't say the same with the human design, the character design of the human. This is where the uncanny valley happens, in which it looks a little bit too realistic. Some people will say that, well, that's kind of like rotoscope, but unfortunately, even with the rotoscope, it there's some semblance of drawing that kind of makes it charming. But in this case, the movement sometimes comes a little bit too realistic. I want this movie could have been looked a little bit better if it was with live action instead of human, because most of the characters, I mean, you kind of it's too real that it gets uncanny in a way, especially when they have kind of a more exaggerated approach on their faces, and so that part kind of like didn't work for me. Even I kind of noticed that the unfortunate thing is that when they make those movements, the movements are so realistic that you might be thinking, what's the point when you can't go bombastic? And the biggest moment is, of course, the infamous hot chocolate dance, in which when you see the characters moving, it kind of looks like something that you're gonna watch in a circus. And I kind of wish I could see that more with realistic humans, but they don't do kind of like anything was kind of like big, bombastic or something like that. I mean, it's a good scene, but not by much. Also, the length of the movie and the way that it kind of has some distractions, it feels like this movie, it was better off as a short. It could have worked better as a short instead of, because most of the journey, it feels a little bit like padding. It just keeps on, and sometimes it kind of makes an excuse in order to make kind of like this roller coaster ride, because they wanted to take advantage of the 3D IMAX setting, which it wouldn't be so bad, but I think that it was that was a little bit of much of that. Well, although some of the child acting is actually nice, but the biggest thing that is actually that is promoted on the movie is Tom Hanks taking the role of a character, both as voice actor and as well as a mocap, and it shows, and you gotta give him commitment about that, and also it overshadows some of the other characters, and I did like most of the character, by the way. We got, of course, the boy. The boy is unnamed. I wish I could see the movie concentrates a little bit more on the boy, but of course we also got kind of like the girl who she's really nice. I like this character. There's also this little kid who he almost misses the train. There are some of the other characters that are there. For example, the train engineers, in which they are creepy because of their uncanny valley thing. There is the hobo who he's basically a poltergeist, which he can be scary, but I kind of wish he could be kind of like this guy kind of like became a little bit of my favorite character, for not gonna lie. But here, unfortunately, this movie not only has one character, but two characters that rubs me the wrong way. The first one, I know that is pretty obvious. There is this kid who is very know-it-all, and he's voiced by Eddie Deason, and and you know that Eddie Deason, you know that you always recognize him because he always does the Mandark voice, and every time he talks like that, he really kind of gets on your nerves. And here's the thing: this kid is the way he talks is so unlikable, and coming from the design, it really feels off. And honestly, it's this kind of kid that you just want to. You kind of wonder why nobody bullies him or punch him, because the way he talks, and he kind of comes up with kind of like a mean-spirited character, and it's kind of like they just make this kid just annoying because it's Eddie Redmayne, or Eddie, what was Eddie Deason? Eddie Deason, yeah. Which is sad because I like Eddie Decent, but when he used when he's used well as a character, I mean he fits for Mandark, but he doesn't fit, at the know-it-all kid. And when even when he just shows up out of nowhere, he just complains about underwear. And the other character who rubs me the wrong way is the conductor himself. I mean, I know that they try to make this world charming and all this stuff, but that conductor, especially for the most, kind of like the most part of the movie, his tone, the way he acts, he's cold and mean-spirited. It's like Tom Hanks, and whenever he gets angry, I don't feel like warmth because it's something for a Christmas, and I know that they can have some strict moments, strict rules and all this stuff, but sometimes when it's about kind of like the Christmas mood, these characters always come up as being, well, strict, but also having this charm in which they're saying that, hey, you probably broke the rules, I know you have to be punished, but don't worry, I'm not gonna make it very harsh. Unfortunately, the way the conductor talks and the way he acts, he's harsh, but and honestly not charming. And I don't know if it's because of Tom Hanks' accent, but I wouldn't want to mess with that conductor. That conductor doesn't deserve to be the conductor. Especially when he got this harsh tone and the way he scolds, it feels like he is ready to drop me off the train while it's moving. So yeah, but still. After all these distractions, I gotta say that when there are moments that work, there are moments that work. With the Santa Claus moment, this is where the movie shines. But I kind of wish that they focus a little bit more on that theme instead of, well, just proving the tech demo. But either way, I'm not exactly in love with the Polar Express, but I can give this one a little bit of a pass because still going through a journey with that train, it's still worth it.
Would you like to buy a Christmas wreath? It's not even Thanksgiving yet. By the time Christmas comes, all the needles will be falling off. Don't hang it near the turkey. Would you like to buy a Christmas wreath? It isn't even Thanksgiving yet. Would you like to buy a Thanksgiving wreath? Would you like to buy a Christmas wreath?
Do you know what you are doing? Don't you realize you're adding to the over-commercializing of Christmas?
Not till I sell one. Good morning. This is a Christmas wreath.
Thank you. I love samples.
I know that this is the anniversary of the Charlie Brown Christmas, but since I already talked about that special, and everybody knows it, I had to decide to pick up another one. So I decided to go with the second Christmas special that they did, which is It's Christmas Time, Charlie Brown. Although many people will kind of forget or diminish this one because, I mean, it's obvious. It doesn't have kind of like the exact big charm as the other one. I mean, it has certain circumstances. And when you think about it, It's Christmas Time, Charlie Brown is none other kind of like when they already settled in a lot more things. They have their other shows and special. I don't remember if the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show was on during that time. I don't remember that. I think it's not. I haven't bothered to make a double research about this. But speaking of the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, this is what basically it's Christmas Time Charlie Brown technically is. It kind of feels a little bit like an extension of the show, but of course because of the theme of Christmas, they decided to go through with it. It's not kind of like this concrete story that like the Charlie Brown Christmas has. This one is more like an animated collection of some of the storylines of the comics, especially during Christmas. Some of those storylines include, for example, Charlie Brown selling these Christmas rings so he can get money so he can buy Peggy Jean some gloves. Just in case, Peggy Jean was a temporary character that Charlie Brown had a crush on in order to replace the little red hair girl. She's at least they interact with each other, by the way. Other stories that are there is of course Peppermint Patty and Marcy doing the Christmas play, but of course Patty is distraught that she didn't get the married role, and she's just assigned to play the sheep. And some other stories here and there, but probably the biggest, but also my favorite of the storylines is Sally getting the role of the angel who says "hark" on the Christmas play. But knowing Sally, she screws up a lot, and she gives out one of the best comebacks on that. I mean, the first time I saw what she said, I laughed a lot. You know what? I'm not gonna say it just for the sake of not spoiling, but how she screw up one single line for me is hilarious. I always come back and the reaction of everyone is like, "What the frick? She screw up one line." You know, that's the charm of Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the Peanuts Gang is that sometimes the little things they screw up, but you know what? That's kind of the thing of life. And I know that in the other show, Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, they do have that moment again. But either way, I think that this is the big thing that this special has. I mean, so overall, I would say that this is a good curiosity piece more than okay, this is inferior than the Charlie Brown Christmas, because yeah, it doesn't have kind of like the big feel good message or the tone and all that stuff. There's a different time, different circumstances, but if you're a Peanut fan, I think that this one is also a little bit of a treat.
The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. They'll stand hand in hand, and those who's will start singing.
Welcome, welcome, Bahuramus. Christmas Day is in our grasp.
I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel.
I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I knew that eventually I was gonna get into How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the biggest and obvious masterpiece made by the beloved children's author Dr. Seuss. And well, this is a staple that I keep seeing every single Christmas, and the Grinch kind of becomes so iconic that honestly I'm not exactly a big fan. I have certain issues with that, but this special is still a beloved must-watch every holiday, and I can see why. But believe it or not, I knew about the existence of How the Grinch Stole Christmas because I read the movie first. I read the book first. I mean, I read the book first when I from my frequent visits on the library when I was a kid in school / high school. Sometimes I even go to the kids section and I begin to watch the to read the books. But here is a little bit of the problem of why I wasn't too exactly keen of the Dr. Seuss books. And I don't know if it's me or the publishing, but Dr. Seuss books usually stink. I don't know if it was the glue, or it was the material that they made, or it was the humid atmosphere, but I remember that those books smell. I don't know. I don't know why most of those Dr. Seuss books had this smell. But anyway, I wasn't kind of like the biggest fan of the character design until little by little it began to grow on me. And then it came a time that when they show in Cartoon Network sorry about that. That's a Jesus. Don't you hate it when you feel the sneeze but doesn't come out? Maybe I'm allergic to Grinchiness. So, and also the Grinch, you know that the Grinch is kind of stapled the term of oh, you don't like Christmas enough that you want to ruin it for everyone. Geez, like there's another one like the Scrooge or something like that. But here's the thing. I watched it on Cartoon Network, the Christmas special, and I began to like it a lot over the years. And the more I find and refresh kind of like the behind the scenes of this special, I can see why a lot of people really love it. I mean, everybody likes the story about this green fella who he's not into the Christmas spirit. He doesn't like, he wants to be kind of like being in a quiet place and all this stuff. He hates it, everything. He's bitter. He doesn't like that everyone is having fun, with the toys, the fun, and because it gets noisy. That is until he thinks that he can ruin Christmas for everyone by stealing all the things that are from the celebration. The tree, the food, and everything, because he just wants to. Let's say that it's a sadistic thing that if I don't have. I'm gonna take it away from me, and I'm gonna be happy to see them, be sad and everything. But of course, we all know the story in which, despite that he stole everything, he finds that the good-natured citizens of course, Whoville, they don't care about the material things. They just feel that. The time of being together and having some good fun is what's important. So much that this is why everyone they just say, hey, these are all material fun things that I'll do, but we'll all remember that it's more than that. We just give part of ourselves and time for share our emotion and a good time, which. Of course, that makes the Grinch change his mind, and then he decided to join the celebrations. Of course, we all know the story. I just recapping the whole thing, and it's a cute story. And as for this special, a lot of things work. First of all, we got that the Grinch is played by Boris Karloff, who we all know him that he played the Frankenstein monster, and he does an excellent job. But also we all know that this is done wonderfully because it was made with the animation of the legendary Chuck Jones. And we also have the music. By the way, did you guys know that Dr. Seuss and Chuck Jones were basically good friends? I think I had to revisit and try to see if they were friends from the army. Just to check on things. I kind of doubt it. If it's true, refresh me. I haven't checked. I've checked a lot of things, but this is why I think that most of the early animated things that are based on Dr. Seuss, they nail his art style, the messaging, and all that. which unfortunately, the more they commercialize Dr. Seuss and they try to put it on big screen, a lot of things doesn't work. So yeah, I will say that How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It was time for me to say how much I really liked this special. But it also made me prepare for the live action version. Oh God, I'm gonna dread next year.
There's more Yuletide magic with the Little Drummer Boy, voiced by Greer Garson, Jose Ferrer, and featuring the songs of the Vienna Boys Choir.
I'm not gonna lie. When of all of the Christmas songs, either classic or modern that there is in my that I've been hearing in my life, the Little Drummer Boy song is probably my favorite of them all. I love the softness, the mystical tone that it has, and I fell in love a lot with that song. And I do remember that when I was a child, most of our family members they decided to make these family reunions, in which it was a good opportunity to hang out with my cousins, my uncles, everyone. And one of the biggest traditions that we had during those early Christmas celebrations is that my father and his group of friends, they decide to sing some carols. Mostly I will say the one that one of their friends made of their own, some of the Mexican ones, and I do remember that we even had this chorus book with a list of all these songs that they were going to sing. But the one that they kind of reluctantly want to sing, I don't exactly remember why, but I always ask, is the Little Drummer Boy. The Little Drummer Boy, the song, I remember that I always begged to them until there were a few times that they comply, but that song kept into my head, and well, every time I hear it, no matter which version, I loved it. I love this song. But weirdly enough, I never saw the Rankin Bass special. I never saw any of the Little Drummer Boy and media music. I know that there's specials here and there, but I felt like the Little Drummer Boy from Rankin Bass, which this became my Rankin Bass pick. It felt kind of like obscure, and this year I finally saw it, and despite that, I did notice some technical story, a little bit of story stuff that it needed to be polished. I think I kind of loved that special. Because this is Rankin Bass story that it's a little bit more, how can I say it approaches with a little bit of a more mature level compared to the other Christmas specials that are more popular. Like, we all love the happiness and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or Santa Claus is coming to town, or the Year Without Santa Claus. I mean, obviously everything is kind of like happy, silly, and even some of the scary moments. It's not that scary and all this stuff because it doesn't feel like it has some stakes here and there. But the Little Drummer Boy, actually, it has a moment in which people die for real. I mean, that's a Kickstarter for a Christmas special. And you know what? I did also really like the setting. The setting about this little boy who lost his family from bandits, and well, the kid just started to hate humanity out of it. He just goes along, just playing along with the drums that was the final gift that their parents have given to him, and with all his love and everything. And well, the kid he loves so much playing the drums that he even made friends with 3 animals: a sheep, a donkey, and a camel. And the small story is just basically that because he had this talent with the drum that even the animals like to befriend him, it caught the attention of this greedy showman who captured him and decided to exploit him for money, of course. But basically the kid is reluctant because he hates people. He has this heart filled with anger because of his past, and he just has this grudge against humanity after what happened to him. It's his trauma. And of course, after small mishaps, he basically finds the 3 wise men, and which eventually leads him to. Well, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but basically, just like the song, it leads him to. It leads him to Bethlehem, where he finds baby Jesus. And just like the song, because the boy doesn't have anything to give to the baby Jesus, the boy decides to play along his drums, and of course that makes the child smile, which in the case of this one, it kind of gives him a little bit of a more hopeful insight to humanity, that not everything is evil and gloom. And you know what? When you think about it, this could have a lot of potential. This one, if they could have polished a little bit more the story, it's a brilliant setup. I really love the setting of this boy who lost his family, lost his faith in humanity, and I just kind of wish that it had kind of like a much bigger journey than the one that it had. This one deserved more like a 45 minutes short, instead of the usual 21. And also there's some other aspects that kind of diminish it. It gives this movie a little bit more obscurity than the other Rankin Bass specials that are much more well done than this one. First of all, I've been hearing that this one had a little bit of some production problems, and also some of the restoration was hard to find because the negative gone missing. So I kind of did notice some aspect that feels like missing. Another nitpick that I do have is that there are some where there are moments in which the kid uses the drum beating of the drum. Instead, they just use a complete song, and they don't take advantage of using the kid using the drums. Someone could make kind of like this, just using the drums, and that's it. But unfortunately, that one feels kind of like off key, and it goes off, and so they didn't find kind of like a creative approach to create drum music. But there is a song that it actually caught me. I think it was called "Why Can't the Animal Smile?" That was actually a pretty nice song. I liked it. So either way, just like the song, I think I'm gonna grow a really, really big spot on the Rankin Bass Little Drummer Boy.
Those of us with means should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute.
Ebenezer Scrooge, a man whose contempt for others,
Mr. Cratchit,
is matched only by his greed and lust for wealth.
Christmas comes but once a year, sir. Poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December.
But Scrooge is about to be taught a lesson he'll never forget.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
You are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
I fear you more than any spectre I've seen. I will not be the man I must have been but for this visitation. Why show me this if I am past all hope?
Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, with an all-star cast including Frank Finlay, David Warner, Susanna York, Edward Woodward, Nigel Davenport, Joanne Whalley, and George C. Scott as Ebenezer Scrooge. A Christmas Carol.
Merry Christmas to everybody, and a Happy New Year to the world!
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's Christmas Carol pick goes none other than to the 1984 version that stars George C. Scott. Yeah, we all know the Charles Dickens story. Greedy miser goes, he learns the meaning of Christmas, of charity, blah blah blah, and all this stuff. We all know the story here and there, and this one is no different than the ones I talked about it. So why this version is very preferred by a lot of people? Well, for starters, it's kind of the execution. For this movie was a TV made movie, and it's kind of funny that every time when someone makes a Christmas Carol story, they go all and beyond to make it kind of like the greatest thing they ever seen. You know, the setting, the costume design, how they look, the way they act. A lot of times they really nail on how good it looks. For the most part, there are some stinkers. I still haven't seen one of those, at least yet. I mean, bottom of the barrel, by the way, bottom of the barrel. I know there might be some of those. So again, I have to pick harder. So what are some moments? What are some things about this particular version that stands out? Not just because of the setting. For starters, George C. Scott himself as Scrooge, he is brilliant, I'll say, in which I gotta admit that I like the acting direction that they decided to go with him, in which usually when they pick kind of like these kind of like the roles of Scrooge, they always kind of tend to sometimes make him kind of like overacting on the things that are happening, or kind of go like, oh, or something like that. It feels kind of like too whimsical or too sad or too short. But George C. Scott kind of mostly nailed it in the sense that it kind of makes him kind of act like a man on his age, and of course, kind of like it's showing it a little bit more of a grumpier side. It just like how can I say? It's like George C. Scott playing George C. Scott. It's kind of like the likable grumpy man, but unlike Harrison Ford, who became unlikable grumpy man. I'm sorry, George C. Scott. I know I like your acting, but lately, this is all the things you play. You always play angry, unlikable, grumpy man. George, bless your soul, George C. Scott. For example, let's say that what I like about the acting of George C. Scott is that when he kind of begins to watch, for example, things that are happening in front of him, like something from the past or the Bob Cratchit family, you see him kind of like the face that he's just studying. In a way, it's almost like he just tried to resist the watching all these things, but at the same time, the gears on his head are pulling. I will say that those are some moments that really stands out from the acting of George C. Scott. The other character also act very well. And also the ghost, I'll say. I think that the ghost of Christmas Present also is a big standout. Because one of the things that this special has is that it also adds some moments that I kind of doubt that there are on the book. I haven't read the book. I would say now it makes me feel like I want to watch the original. I want to see the original book in order to see if there are differences from all these versions here or not. But the point is that we get, for example, more about Scrooge during his workplace, I'll say, a little bit. There's also I do also one of the parts that I like, especially from when in the present part, is when the typical moment in which Scrooge says that he's worried that Tiny Tim is gonna die, and the Ghost of Christmas Present says that oh yeah, but you know what, whatever, if he dies, he dies. It's gonna decrease the surplus population. And Scrooge is like, hey, you're taking the words I said to get back at me. And even the Ghost of Christmas Present is like, well, so the next time, then hold your tongue, because there are more worthless people than him, and you might be one of them. Also, we get kind of like a glimpse of kind of like an unhappy family, and in order to showcase, of course, the poor houses and jail kind of reaction. But I will say, the children that showcase ignorance and want, it's really scary. I gotta admit, how they show is really nightmare fuel. I'm not gonna lie. And of course, we got the future and all these things. But I'll say that if you're into the Christmas Carol mood and you haven't checked this one, this is a must watch. George C. Scott did brings a magnificent role in this one. Oh yeah, I did also mention that it has some great music. There's some great music, and so again, check it out. You're not gonna regret it. But of course, it also goes into the pile of so many Christmas Carol specials that the list is gonna feel so endless.
Because Barnaby bought the mortgage on her mother's house and said he'd throw them all out in the street if she didn't.
There's trouble in Toyland.
Dear friends and neighbors, as justice of the peace of Toyland, it falls within my power to join this handsome couple. Well, anyway, this couple in matrimony.
The wicked Barnaby Barnacle wants the beautiful Mary Contrary to be his bride.
She doesn't love him. She loves Jack. And she really shouldn't be marrying you.
If he doesn't get his way, he'll turn Toyland into a world without toys.
I mean, we're talking serious villain here.
So it's up to Jack Nimble.
I think what you really want is to destroy Toyland.
On the contrary, I plan to own it.
His brave Toyland friends.
Come on,
The wise old toy master.
Don't you realize you can never conquer Toyland?
And a little girl from Cincinnati.
Fancy Watsky.
To drive the villainous Barnaby and his loyal legion of tacky trolls out of Toyland.
I will be master of Toyland.
You're the monster of Toyland, Barnaby.
Babes in Toyland.
And now the final memory of the year is something that I actually watched it this year, even though I knew its existence. So, the movie is based in Toyland. Not to be confused with the Disney version or I think it was a play and all this stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are called based in Toyland, even though it sounds like an adult movie for some reason. But I will say that this is a movie that a friend just showed it to us, and man, this movie could be a combination of a terrible movie, but also the combination of what the frick kind of movie. So honestly, for this short session of my Christmas memories, this felt perfect to end up. So, Based in Toyland stars a very, very young Drew Barrymore, who plays this little girl who kind of thinks that she has grown up, but she still acts childlike. She goes to pick up her sister from this toy store where Keanu Reeves also is there, and well, she rallies the whole town in order to get home because the blizzard is coming, and the whole town of Cincinnati they get out, leaving behind kind of like that greedy, evil corporate store owner. And then after a ridiculous car accident, the Drew Barrymore character, she gets transported into the wonderful world of Oz. Nah, just kidding. It's not Oz. But basically, basically she comes into this town in which apparently it's a town that is filled with living toys, but it more feel like when you go to this second-rate kind of Christmas place. When you go, when they say that you're gonna go to the North Pole in a Christmas town, it's just feel of people showcasing their amusement parks or something like that. It's kind of like a glorified amusement park, but basically, it is technically a magical world. She meets this guy who kind of looks like John Candy, but he doesn't look like John Candy, and he says that there is this lady who she's gonna be forced to be married with an evil bad guy who he dresses on this ridiculous black vest, and he's followed by two underlings that looks like Orlok from Nosferatu, and of course Keanu Reeves is the one that wants to marry her. So yeah, it's like Oz, in which the characters look like people that the main character meets. But the whole point is that there is the town is basically quote unquote terrorized by this evil guy, because he can do anything he wants. He controls everything in an iron fist. Apparently, he steals cookies, and he is dealing with some swamp monsters, in order to make his deed, because he just wants to rule everything. It's kind of like complicated, and basically also they have to find a way to solve this, to beat the bad guy. And of course, there's also this toy maker who is played by Mr. Miyagi himself, Pat Morita. It's kind of like a childish, complicated mess, I'll say. Even the messaging of the story is kind of like a mess. With a little bit of the, I will say that it's not kind of like the worst world setting that you can get, but you can tell that the dialogue is so clumsy, and the acting is garbage, I gotta say. Drew Barrymore, her acting and the way she emotes all her lines, and she's terrible, but at the same time she's annoying. She's a character that she's an character that they really glorify this girl at kind of having all the solutions, and you know what, it's kind of feel like childlike and really ridiculous. Although the bad guy is kind of like hilarious, and it's the way he acts, and you get kind of like lines like, "What the hell is that?" or "Well, yes." Those moments of overacting kind of makes this movie kind of like both watchable and unwatchable, and sometimes you feel bad for the creature, because one of the creatures, he looks like a bird that came out from a setting of the Power Rangers, and it's a one-eyed creature that for some reason is oddly cute, and you feel bad for it. Oh, did I mention also that not only the whole setting is just basically like a Disneyland attraction, but they all ride on these cars that are toy cars that go, but they just use it for no reason, because they can go anywhere just by walking distance. And what's the point of that? Of course, that this is just used for a climax with a car, by going with a car that is ridiculous. And it also has this cartoonish sound effects, and the way I sound, yes, this movie is cringe. It's a cringy movie, but you know what? It's a good movie to watch with friends, and if you want grab a beer and get drunk with it. It's because again, the terrible acting, the very undercooked storylines, or the cheesy storylines, they try so hard just to fail. When the movie ended, me and my friends were like, what did we do with this? Was it good? No. Did we have fun? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm saying this, you're gonna probably regret watching the dumpster fire of a movie, but you know what? You won't. I don't regret it. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. I gotta say, to see this dumpster fire. I'll say that this is probably the closest I'll think to be the Room for Christmas. Okay, maybe it's a little bit too harsh. And it's not that. It's just a ridiculous Christmas movie. But again, we got Drew Barrymore and Keanu Reeves and Pat Morita. Oh, I kind of forget talking about Pat Morita, in which Pat Morita actually, he tries. The poor Pat Morita is probably the only actor who actually tried to keep some dignity on this one. Oh yeah, and also there are some plot lines that they scrapped out, but you know what? You gotta watch it for yourself on how much of a mess this one is. And with that mess, I think that I'm pretty much done with my memories of this year. This was another year of good Christmas, and again, I'm also kind of glad that I decided to make this shorter, because it gives me a little bit more time to do stuff, and it's less complicated. It's less complicated. Maybe I'll continue like next year, but I'm not gonna fix it for 12 or 6, depending. Maybe it's gonna be 5, maybe it's gonna be 6, or probably I give an extra one with 7. But I'm gonna keep out on making it shorter compared to the other years. But either way, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you next year. Oh wait, not just next year. I have a nice and naughty list to prepare right now.